Salute, everybody. Thank you for rocking with me. This blog review recap, however you want to call it, is about the Joker movie. I would say this, and overall, when you look at these Joker characters in these different movies, you got to understand that they're written differently. Just like the books, just like the comic books, the comic novels, if you want to put it like that, because some of them have been put as an actual, like, a paperback and stuff like that. Um, like Frank Miller, for example, I remember the Dark Knight series was through him, stuff like that. The way he wrote that isn't the same way. If you look at the very first Batman movie that came out with Michael Keaton and what's my man, the Lakers fan? How I'm disrespectful right now. How can I ever forget Jack Nicholson? Um, if you look at how that Joker was portrayed, opposed to the way Heath Ledger did the Joker, or and even in this situation where you have Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, you gotta understand that all three of them are written differently. Even though the Dark Knight Joker, it's a lot of similarities with this Joker, and that's because it's being told from a more serious side. Um, so here's the thing. It's been years. I don't know about you guys, but me, as always, as a Batman fan or and a fan of comic books, I always want to see. It's plenty of villains that I find more entertaining. That's just the real of it. And I've always wanted them to have their very own movie. And I think that the way this movie, I had been anticipating this movie, but the first few times that I saw previews of it, the way it kind of was, like, I wasn't sure what to expect. And when I look at like the way they did the makeup, some of the stuff they show where he's just doing a bunch of laughing, you don't really know what to expect. I'm one of them people who, when I watch a preview, to me, less is more. I don't want to see a bunch of stuff in there because I don't want to feel like I seen the dopest part of the movies and then that's it. I go to the actual movie theater and see, well, actually in your previews, all you did was show the dopest parts, and therefore I didn't really care for the movie like that. And in this case, when it came to some of the previews, I didn't see a lot of stuff in there. For me, that was a good thing. It left me anticipating and wanting to go see it. One of the things that I did was I was asking people on Twitter because my sons wanted to see this. But people were saying that they didn't think that this was for kids. And I have to agree that it's not for kids. And the reason why I say I agree that it's not for kids is not for what you think. Some people thought it was a little too gory for kids. Some people thought it was a little too violent for kids. I have to be honest. I didn't think it was too violent, but I can understand the violent scenarios that happened were more realistic than what you see in your average comic book movie or comic book that reading a comic book. What it is that we look at the superpowers, look at all this stuff. So the killing or the hurting of people all the time, it doesn't really seem that realistic. Therefore, we give it a pass and we'll let our kids watch it. In this kind of situation, it was written a little more serious, and the violence wasn't all over the place. It wasn't like constant violence, and it wasn't constant action either. So therefore, the violent moments were very realistic. And that's why I can understand people saying the same for kids. I would agree with them, but again, it's not for that only reason. For me, it's the way it was written. The way it was written, it was way more on the serious side. There was layers to it. I think most kids will be bored with this movie. I think more kids will actually probably fall asleep in here or be very disappointed because this isn't the Joker they're looking for, and it isn't written for them. The movie is not written for them. The part is not written for them. The storyline isn't for them. It's for us, people our age, or a bit, for me, I say if you're maybe late teens to, I don't know, if some people have been Batman fans, they're in their 60s, 70s, you know what I'm saying? I think that I think this movie's for you. I don't think the movie's for anybody like 16, 17, under that 16, 17 year old. And even some 16, 17 year olds might say, this ain't for me because the way it was written. The layers. First off, let's say this. This has been my problem with a lot of movies, especially comic book movies in the last few years. The problem is that the first half hour to maybe 45 minutes, we could have fucking did without. Or they could have trimmed it down. In this case, I will say this. There was definitely a good portion of it. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes of this I felt could have been left out. I felt, maybe not 15, 20. Yeah, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of it I felt could have been trimmed out. I understand what it was it's about the moments. Certain things that they wrote. It wasn't so much about what was being said and stuff like that, which is a dope part of the movie. Any movie. When you sit there and watch moments where there's silence, it's all about the actor's expression and stuff like that. The mood, the setting that they're in. The setting often creates a mood and stuff like that. So I understood that. But there was definitely a good portion of these that could have been chopped out. As the movie starts warming up, because it does take time to start warming up, it's almost like I would suggest that you pay attention to little details. Because I can see how in the beginning someone could kind of fall back like, this is kind of taking long to warm up and not pay attention to little things. But later on, these things do play a role in there. There was a lot of layers. I love the way they wrote it was just, to me, just so dope. Like, when I keep saying layers, because it's not like one part of the storyline, two parts of the storyline, and then they keep finding a way to interact. No, there's multiple parts. There's political shit that's been subtly written into that and stuff like that. There's a lot of self-pity. There's mistrust. There's misguidance. There's a lot of things in there. There's medical issues. There's you ever, like, I think it's happened to most of us in a lot of ways where maybe you looked up to a certain person or something like that, and then later on feel very disappointed, and like there's some of that in it. There's so many layers to this, and that's why I say I'm trying to find a way to explain it to you without telling you parts of the movie because I don't want to ruin it. But I just felt like every time you start thinking like you can guess things, it's gonna go one certain way. No, they would escalate in a whole other way than you expected. There was some comedy in there, and the comedy is just the moments that it's like awkward funny. Like, there was moments that you feel like, damn, I shouldn't be laughing right now, but it was funny and it was written like that, and that's why you got to salute A, the way it was written, B, the way it was directed, of course, but C, which is really A, Joaquin Phoenix killed it. I felt like he did a phenomenal job. The way it was written and the way he acted it out is a difference between him and the Heath Ledger Dark Knight version of the Joker. So for the people who are expecting to see that, there is some of that in there. It's still different though. It is on its own movie, and then later on, as you're watching it, it ties into Batman stuff. It all comes full circle. There's just layers to this. And again, when it comes to these layers, this is stuff for us. The younger kids are not. They're just not. They're going to be sitting there probably bothering you, if not going to sleep, because this isn't for them. And I feel like you're going to waste your money if you did that. My sons want to see this movie. I'm not going to take them to see this movie. I'm not saying I'm not going to let them watch the movie, though. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm not going to take them to the movie. So by the time maybe it's on, I don't know, one of these streaming sites, maybe by then, maybe a few months from now or something like that, we'll revisit the conversation and see. I'll watch it with them and just see their reaction and see what it is. Because again, it's not like an action-packed movie. It has violent moments, but it's not an action-packed. The action isn't there. It's probably maybe 3 maybe action moments. It's not like that. This isn't your average comic book movie, bottom line. But it's definitely worth watching. Do I think that it's this crazy masterpiece that everybody's talking about? Do I think it's 10 out of 10 or 5 out of 5? No. Personally, I probably will go, because of how it starts off and stuff like that, I'm gonna go 7.5 to 8 out of a 10. Anyway, subscribe if you haven't. Salute to everybody. Peace.